Hello everyone, welcome back to the garage. Once again, shooting the intro after doing the work. I was kind of figuring out what I wanted to do today when I got started, so just fired up the camera and started time-lapsing. But what we're working on today is stripping the hood down for the truck. So when I bought the truck, it had been stripped before and covered in a direct-to-metal primer surfacer, and polyester primer surfacer, just basically sprayable Bondo body filler, which is good stuff. I'm going to be using it again, but it had been on there for a very long time, and even though the previous guy had covered it with an epoxy to kind of seal everything up, I didn't know exactly how thick it was. When I bought it, he said it just needed to be blocked out, but I always want to, I'm curious what's there, and it's like, trust but verify. I'd rather just strip it down, know for sure what's there, and start from scratch basically. So I got the thing sanded down pretty good with that with my Eastwood Contour SCT, the stripping tool. I think Harbor Freight sells a similar tool in drums. I don't know if they interchange from the Harbor Freight drums to the Eastwood ones, because the Eastwood ones are pricey, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Yeah, I've got the cab stripped down most of the way. Whole roof's done. B-pillars are cleaned up. Got a little bit of paint still in the corners of those stampings in the back to do. Stripped down the A-pillars. I still need to pull the wiper studs here and strip this down to this valley is my plan. I'll get it down there and I'll paint from here on up. Inside, I got the back of the cab done, cleaned up. I've put a seam sealer over the weld on the opposite side there on the passenger side for the cab corner repair, and stripped down inside. So I'm going to put the back in epoxy primer up where I've stripped here, and then same on the other side. But I'm going to leave the like A-pillar and the roof alone, except for one spot I got started. I thought I was going to strip it, and then I decided, you know what, I don't want to paint over my head, and it's going to be underneath a headliner anyway, so you're never going to see it. So I started it, so I'll need to just, when I'm doing the epoxy, I'll spray over that so it doesn't rust through past that point. But this is almost as cleaned up as I'm going to do. I'm going to scuff up those center sections that are black and cover that back up with the epoxy. I'm going to take those back down to metal because it's a little much effort than I want to do. But I do want to grab my wire wheel and kind of get this little bit, that pocket I couldn't get with that stripping tool, get that cleaned up before I shoot the epoxy on it, just so it's smooth. So if anybody leans the seat forward, or if I ever decide to put bucket seats in this thing, it just doesn't have that kind of rough, unfinished look right there in that little pocket. But anyway, I'll get the time-lapse set up and kind of show you how easy it is to use that stripping tool. It's just a drum surface conditioner. There's all kinds of them. I think Harbor Freight has one, like I mentioned, but just use these abrasive drums. They say there's like a 40 grit or something, but it does a really good job of stripping paint, body filler, primers, surface rust. It does a really good job with that as well. That particular drum I like if there's like a light surface rust covering over an area. It really does a good job. When I was doing this part of the cab, there was a light surface rust from here to here, and you can see it cleaned it back up to white metal and looks really, really good. So it does a good job. Like I said, the Eastwood one's the more expensive option, but I picked a system and stuck with it. I bought the tool, and then Harbor Freight like 3 months later came out with their version of it, and I'm like, yeah, darn it. Oh well, because it was like half or a third the price or whatever. I'm not opposed to getting certain things at Harbor Freight, like the little angle grinders work pretty well, so I have a feeling that that stripping tool would work well enough, at least for a few jobs, and kind of pay for itself there. But anyway, like I said, we'll go to time lapse here, get the hood stripped, and then I'll come back for a wrap up. I got the first half of the hood cleaned off here. Passenger side. You saw I changed directions a whole bunch, moved around a lot. Want to keep it cool. You know, this hood's this being an original one, the inner structure is kind of like there's a little glue or whatever adhesive in there. It's not quite fully attached to it, so you get a little tin can action to it. And to keep that from getting even worse, you want to move around. But yeah, this tool works pretty good. That surface conditioning tool strips it down pretty nice. So I'll get set up and get this other side done. Got some clouds moving in, so definitely want to get this back inside the garage so it doesn't get it wet. But I'll set this up and we'll capture the other half. You saw it wasn't that tedious of a job. You know, don't apply a whole lot of pressure. Just let the tool do the work. Let it, just the weight of the tool itself strip down. That had a lot of polyester surfacer and the epoxy over it, so it had quite a heavy layer to strip off. If you have something that's just like a thinner layer of older paint on an original hood to strip down, it wouldn't take near as long. If there is a layer of surface rust around that, it will take longer just to knock that rust down. But that stripping tool works a lot better than a orbital sander with a sanding disc, because rust tends to just eat up and destroy the sanding discs. I tried it in a few different things, and like, you think, oh, it's just a small spot of some rust pitting or something, and it just eats up your sandpaper. So I like the stripping tool whenever you got that, and I didn't really know what was going to be underneath that surface. So, but yeah, it looks pretty good, and looks just about ready for primer. So I think that's what the next video is going to be. Thanks everybody for watching. If you haven't, please hit subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Getting close to 1,000, that'd help me out a bit, getting over that point. And I'll catch you guys again later. Thank you.